I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Human Services Committee. If you would all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk take the roll, please.
Commissioner McConnell?
Here.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Here.
Commissioner Bohm?
Here.
Commissioner Dunn?
Here.
Commissioner Rushing?
Here.
Commissioner Vandenbosch?
Here.
Commissioner Beeden?
Here. Are there any changes, additions, deletions to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any citizens wishing to be heard tonight?
No, there are none.
Okay. For updates, we have with us tonight Deborah Johnson from Community Mental Health to give us an update. She'll take the podium.
I can take this off while I'm talking, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say thanks for letting me be here tonight to talk about a really important issue, which is that recently, let me get myself in order. Recently, there was a proposal coming out of the Michigan Senate led by Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey that would once again take up physical and behavioral health integration. Some of you might remember the 298 process. That was the section of the language in the governor's budget a number of years ago that would have privatized the system at that time had that budget been approved as it was written. There was a lot of advocacy efforts across the state of Michigan from all kinds of key stakeholders, including Michigan Sheriff Association, hospitals, schools, lots of key stakeholders, and a lot of the people that we serve. So that was a really good effort, and it didn't go through. So much like the 298 process from a couple of years ago, the new proposal would shift the Medicaid financing and managed care functions from the current public PIHP, which is prepaid inpatient health plan, to the private Medicaid health plans, which are all for-profit. So once again, we have significant concerns with this type of proposal, which we have shared directly with Senator Shirkey's office, because integration, in our opinion, must begin and focus at the patient level on the ground and not at the financial level. There must be public accountability and public governance in order to protect Michigan's most vulnerable citizens. So that's a point I want to make sure that you all understand, because currently, I don't think any of you were here when we achieved our authority status in 2000. But the County Board of Commissioners approved for us to be an authority, and you could take that authority status away. If you didn't think we were doing a good job, you still appoint our board members. You still have, some level of oversight in that way. But if you thought we weren't doing a good job, then you could revoke the authority status. We hope you don't do that because we think we're doing a good job. But anyways, in the new model that's proposed, you would have absolutely no control and no authority. So it would be private health plans. There's a number of them in the state of Michigan, and it wouldn't be just one health plan that oversaw the services for St. Clair County. There would be multiple health plans. Whoever they had as their members is, who they would be providing services for. They do have to contract with community mental health as a part of this proposal, but they could have a $1 contract and meet the requirement. So it doesn't mean that they're going to use us as a provider like we currently are. So you guys got the document, which was this, gearing towards integration. I don't know if you had any questions about it. We also gave you a sample letter, like we gave information out to community people if they want to write their own letters, send their own emails to our legislators. I gave you a copy of the letter that I sent to all of our state reps and Senator Lowers. One of my staff, she did there's an action alert too, which you received, and it looked sort of like that. And then at the end of it, we're asking people to reach out to the legislators and oppose that any integration moving forward really involves the input from key stakeholders across the state. Senator Shirkey said that he held some sessions. We don't know who he included as key stakeholders. He did not involve anybody from the community mental health system. And we know that he didn't involve people from like our area in terms of people served or their families or things like that. And last time too, when they had the 298 thing, they held a lot of sessions in the House, Senate, where people could go and give testimony about how they felt about it. I went to one of the sessions and there were hundreds of people there. They had to put them in 4 separate rooms. They video conferenced into the different rooms for people to give their testimony, and it took the entire day. And they didn't even get through people. They randomly selected people. Somehow I was lucky to get selected, so I got to, share my viewpoint. But anyways, so at this time around, it came out in March, and Senator Shirkey's hoping that it would be signed into law by June, by the governor, this June. So that is way fast track. It's not nearly enough time to study the issue. They looked at it before and they tried to get a pilot off the ground. They couldn't even get that off the ground. So I don't know if you have any questions. I was told to keep it brief. So I'm keeping it brief. And basically, I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your advocacy, even if you can do the action alerts, if you have contacts with any of our state reps, to talk to them. Senator Lowers talked to one of my staff people today. When she hit the action alert, somehow this automatic thing generated back saying she has an appointment with, or from Senator Lowers' aide, that she had an appointment. So she got to Zoom with him today at, I think it was 9 o'clock. And he said that he actually has not heard about the proposal in the Senate yet. I don't know how he wouldn't have heard about it if they're on this fast track. And he does not support it. That's what he told her. I haven't talked to him personally, but I will be talking to him. So hopefully, Senator Lowers has been pretty supportive of a lot of the things that we've done, and I would kind of expect him to continue to do that. So hopefully.
We would lose substantial, St. Clair County residents would lose substantial monies in these particular services if it went outside of this to the private carriers.
Ask your question again or state it.
So the citizens, St. Clair County, the dollars lost would be very substantial that are providing these services.
We currently are allocated $70 million.
Yeah. So, and going back to Dan not knowing this, we get a lot of information. Those guys get like 50 times more stuff that rolls down the pipeline. Those guys, there's a different bill every day. I mean, trying to follow that level is a whole other deal. I know this is reared its head up a couple times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
On the board, however long. It's hopefully it dies a natural death again, which it has multiple times. But I mean, I've heard.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, it will die a death again. But who knows? It has come up several times, and so yeah, you were talking about the money, and I should have mentioned this, that in the whole state of Michigan, it's close to $3 billion that are allocated to the public behavioral health system. So that's the money that the private for-profit people want. And maybe I should have also let you know that our current administrative rate is 6%. The private average is about 15 to 20%. They have to pay profits. They have to pay shareholders. I mean, if you just Google the salary of the CEO of Blue Cross, I'd like his job for a month and I could retire. So I'm just saying, I mean, it's just a whole different ballgame. We have extra money. We put it back into services. So we've done a ton with community benefit kinds of things, especially with the COVID pandemic, and we've already gotten letters of support from Dr. Mercantile as well as Matt King, the sheriff. So
and we lose the control potentially too.
Completely.
We lose the control of how these programs operate. So I have ready to send a letter from me personally as just a citizen of St. Clair County. So I don't know if the ask tonight is some kind of letter or at least to go to that action, call to action that you sent out so that we could send things, but.
That's the quickest, easiest thing to do is a call to action. If people have the time or energy to write a letter, that would be great. When the 298 was happening, the county actually did a resolution and we sent the resolution. Our association didn't ask us to ask for that yet, but maybe at a point we will need to. And currently there's no bill numbers assigned. The two bills that need to be, I should have said that too, the two bills that need to be changed would be the Mental Health Code and the Social Welfare Act. So they're currently, we've seen a fourth edition or rendition of those bills. So there's no numbers yet. So.
Well, I spoke with Senator Lowers a couple of weeks ago. There's a very similar bill that has to do with PACE funding that could also significantly impact St. Clair County. And those do have House bills, or actually a House and a Senate bill associated with those. They're asking, I think, at some point for a letter of support or a resolution, but there's a direct number associated with that. But I do think that you know, this call to action, even if you can share it within your networks, right? So I can
Yes.
share it. You've posted it on the,
It's on our Facebook page. It's in, the St. Clair County Community Mental Health Facebook page. It's there. You can share it. If you go to that site, we emailed it to all of you too. Or you should have gotten it, I think. We emailed it to whoever gives you your stuff.
but in speaking with Senator Lowers, he did say that it is important for him to get feedback, right? So whether it's in the form of a resolution or a letter of support, but to give that feedback so that when he's, you know, giving his opinion on something, he can say, but the people I represent feel this way. So just as a side note, he's fully supportive of us reaching out to him as well.
And then if I could just share one really fast example, it was, I don't know how long ago, Georgia called me, or I should say Commissioner Baldwin called me, because she had a phone call from somebody who appeared to be not stable. And so she filled me in on the details, asked what we could do, and I said, well, I'll call our mobile crisis unit, which I gave you guys all the cards for this, mobile crisis. You can call that anytime. If any of you have my cell phone numbers, you can call me personally and I will help you, which is what we did that Sunday afternoon for that person. But those kinds of things, if that call, if you had gotten that call in the private sector's here, I don't know who you would call, which person, because it could be any one of a number of health plans, and try calling them now and you're going to get like recordings and press 1, press 2, press whatever. So anyways, those are some of the things that we would always do, and we would always help out. And we do have the 24/7 mobile crisis unit. I want to make sure you are aware of that. And then I also gave you the updated brochure for community mental health. And if you have any questions anytime ever, want tours of the building, want to talk to me, I'm available. I've given some of you tours and talked about all of our services, and I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
done.
I got about
Question.
5 questions.
5?
If I could, what you personally said, the current budget for St. Clair County is $7 million?
$70 million, close to 70, yeah.
70 million?
Yes,
7-0.
Okay.
yes.
I forgot my hearing.
Yeah, no, you're
I'm sorry. So there's currently 70 million allocated to St. Clair County?
Yes.
That's coming from the state?
Well, it's not all coming from the state, but the majority of it is Medicaid funding, yes.
Okay.
And we still get about $1 million of local dollars from the county.
Okay.
And then we get some other like third-party payer revenue, things like that, but the bulk of it is Medicaid funding.
Okay. You stated that currently there's $3 billion being spent statewide out of the 83 counties?
Close to that, yes.
And if a 20% increase, that would make, if it goes to private, they would potentially be costing the residents of Michigan $3.6 billion.
No, because that's not their intent. They're not going to raise the budget. They're going to have to get that extra money that they charge out of the existing allocation.
If all things, see if I'm looking at it correctly, if all things being equal and the service covers $3 billion to provide the service to the residents, and you just stated earlier it'd be 20% more, potentially, let's say it's Blue Cross, whoever it is, and potentially it's $3.6 billion then, an additional cost to the residents of the state.
We'd lose 20%.
No, we're gonna lose 20% of services. They're gonna pull it out. They're not gonna increase the allocation. It would be out of the services. So they'd get their budget, and then they authorize services at a certain level, and they won't authorize past, what they think they can get. So they're not gonna increase the budget.
It did go to, right, but if this went to private, then the state would do the Medicare funding, the same amount of money would then go to private industry.
The Medicaid, yes.
Okay. Have you done a cost analysis between the private and the government?
Yes, I don't have it handy with me, but if you want some of that stuff, we did it the last time too, and we showed them the numbers and what the services that we're providing.
Okay. And I do have a question about if it's in the private end and you go see your private doctor, those records are private. Are the records at the county private?
100% private. We have to comply with HIPAA guidelines as well. So yes, we follow the same rules that a doctor in the private sector would follow.
And I imagine you got a team of doctors, so
We do.
help me out here. Let's say I wanted to go see a mental health. I'd go see the same person, or it's about time. It'd be
If you want to come to community mental health,
right.
yes, you could. Actually, you have to have a qualifying condition, but now actually we've loosened the criteria because we're what's called the CCBHC. We love acronyms, and that means a Certified Community Behavioral Health Center. So because of that designation, we've received an additional $2 million a year from SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration out of Washington, D.C. And the purpose of that money was to expand access to services to anybody who needs a service, even if they have, maybe you have private insurance, but you can't afford your copay. You can come to us and we'll cover your copay with that funding. But if you have an ability to pay it, you have to pay it. But we assess it. But if you don't, we will cover it. So we also expanded substance use disorder services to anybody. You can have Blue Cross insurance, and you tell us you need substance use services, you can come to us. We have 4 psychiatrists on staff. We have 4 psychiatric nurse practitioners.
I just made reference to myself, but I'm.
Yeah, I know, I believe you, but my point is, people used to think you had to be super severe and meet some specific thing, and you don't have to be. So that's my point there.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Deb? All right.
You need something at a later date, let us know. Encourage for the call of action now, and then if you gotta come back for a resolution.
Well, if they're hoping to approve it by June, then if there's something official from this board, we have to do it by the next meeting.
Okay, I will keep you informed because I know there's a little more activity going on right now. But definitely the call to action would be awesome. If you can share it with people, that would be great. And at least do that. If you were inclined, you can also send letters. You can see my letter. There's another draft letter we put in there. You can pick and choose pieces of it if you want. Send an email, whatever. So yeah, I appreciate any help and support that I can get, and I thank you all for your time this evening.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a COVID-19 update.
Yes, Dr. Mercanton is joining us remotely.
You hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good. All right. I apologize. I see Deb there, and if I could have been there directly, I would have attended. So I don't need to probably give you the deep details. Please ask me any questions you need. Our data is looking good in the sense that our rates are coming down along with the rest of the state. We are no longer the hot spot of the county or the country. Our vaccination rates, however, are stalling. The long lines, the waiting lists, they're gone. Our vaccine clinics are becoming very sparsely attended. And the level of immunity we have in our community is far below what we will need to avoid another surge, another wave. So the need for vigilance and, more importantly, broad leadership support for the things that we know work are more important now, I believe, than ever before. Because as you've noticed, each wave of this infection has gotten progressively worse and has really been difficult on our infrastructure, our healthcare system, and really on every healthcare provider in the county is struggling. So with that, as you know, I sent a letter of request that you guys could make a formal public support of the work that the health department, your health department, we are doing. We follow CDC guidelines. We try and follow MDHHS, but more than anything, we make decisions locally based on local needs. And this might be a good time to just share with you the example of our school systems, which I work with directly every single week. And as their needs have ebbed and flowed with this pandemic, we have been in line step with them every step of the way, what they've needed. When they've needed support to pause, we give them support to pause. And most recently, we've provided them a break or a loosening of quarantine so that we could get some of these students back to school. It's the critical time for them. And needless to say, the amount of time we spent working with their boards. So these actions of the health department can't be perceived as just a unilateral governmental entity, mimicking what the state is telling us. We work locally and we work hand in hand with the needs of our leadership. And so our request to all of our elected leaders is to stand with us and, provide us that support that says, yeah, we know what we're doing. Not that we're never without making mistakes, never that we have to reevaluate the situation, but that we are always working the best, with the best intentions of this county at heart, and not as much as our personal benefit at the health department, but that the virus is controlled as best as we can. So that is really all I have for you today, unless you have specific questions about our data or the direction you think we're going in.
Dr. Mercantile, this is Greg McConnell.
Yes, sir.
When we had people from the Yale area that were going to the Peck school and getting their shots, I know they're documented, but is there a delay in us finding out the numbers, or is that done instantly when they're recorded? Say from, that would be Sanilac County. We had a lot of people from the KPEC area that were going to Imlay City to get their shots.
I see.
So would we know about them?
Yes,
or is that...
we would, because anything that's done in the state of Michigan goes in the Michigan Care Immunization Registry, the MICR. And so regardless of where you get your vaccine in Michigan, it would be counted under your individual name. And then when we pull county numbers, if they are a resident here, we would know that what the impact is on our residents.
Okay. And if somebody got their shots out of state, would it be helpful that we know that?
Good question. And that is not as simple. If you get a vaccine in Florida, their immunization record system does not communicate with ours. We would have to put your immunization data in directly. So if anyone is vaccinated out of the state, they should reach out to their healthcare provider or to us, and we would be happy to input it. However, I would request that they bring their immunization record. We don't like to we can't accept just word of mouth. So we just talked about that on Facebook tonight. So yeah, that information is very important to get put in because it would not be part of our system.
Perfect.
I think Greg Jeff Boehm here in that. I think Greg brings up a very good point because we've been talking about our numbers being perhaps not quite where we'd like it to be, but I think about, how many people in this area go to Florida for 4 or 5 months, seniors, that type of stuff. How many of them probably have gotten their shots down there? So when we're talking about that, I tell you, I bet you there's probably another 5 or 10% of that hanging out there on that number that would be artificially low for us.
Well, I know where my parents live in Yale, in the old high school apartment building, there's 6 couples that were all in Florida and got their shots in Florida and are back there. And everybody in that building has been vaccinated.
Yeah, 6 couples.
But that's 6 couples.
30,
right. And that's 12 people that have been, that isn't registered. So I'm sure there's more.
Yeah, and nor would they probably be aware of that they're, come back, share the information. I guarantee you nobody's doing that.
No.
So that's an interesting point, big time.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we promote that. That's come up very recently, and I would agree. Although I don't agree that it'll significantly impact our percentages. For instance, to get to a 50% range, we calculated we need at least 13,000 more vaccines from where we're at right now. So I don't know how many people are snowbirds, but we'll certainly promote that through some of our community partnerships with Blue Meets Green, and we've got partnerships with the CSCB, and we'll work on that. Thank you for that information.
Dr. Annette, this is Commissioner Van Bosch. This 70% is almost unattainable. I mean, we'll never get there. I don't see how the governor thinks that we're going to get there. It's almost ridiculous, that number. With the number of vaccines we're getting done now. I mean, we could be in 2022 before we can get to that number.
Are you asking for my opinion?
Isn't it the truth, though? I mean, with the way we're vaccinating now, because I went yesterday and got my shot, but to get to 70%, almost, I mean, it's going to take years.
We have to have a pretty big change of heart, which is why I'm looking at all of these avenues, looking to leadership, looking to community agencies, looking to incentives. We're seeing some creative ideas of pairing vaccination with benefits, even maybe financial, like a business card of some kind of resource. So there's lots of, I don't want to say I'm giving up. I agree. I think 70% is going to be a challenge, but I don't want to think it can't be done. Quite honestly, I think we can get there if we work together. And also don't forget that these are just numbers. We also have to think of the overall benefit to our community. Just in general, the higher the vaccine rate is, the more normal our operational capacity is going to be. So even if we don't make 70% and the governor's, all this stuff, for us as a community, the better we do with vaccine, the better we're going to do, just period. With all of the things that we've seen in the last 15 months. But I agree it's going to be challenging, which means we can't just do this like business as usual, the health department, telling everybody to get their shots, blah, blah, blah. We really need to have some creative outreach and some work on this.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. Mercantile?
I do.
Okay.
Dr. Mercantile, this is Georgia Baldwin. I just want to thank you and your team for everything that you're doing. I think at this point, a lot of it is getting into our individual networks and reaching out to people, people who may have some hesitancy just to answer those questions. And I know that you've made yourself, and you and your team have made yourself very available to answer some of the reasons why someone who's on the fence, might need a push, whether it's so you can go on vacation, or whether it's so you can attend a concert, or, because you want to see a grandparent or something like that. And what I'm seeing work really well, and this isn't a Michigan problem, this isn't a US problem, this is a worldwide problem, is creating the trust and then reaching out to that group in order to get to these levels, while acknowledging that there are some people who either can't or just are not ready to get the vaccine. So I appreciate that the resolution that you're asking for is very specific to the voluntary compliance, because there are people who maybe just need a little more education or a little more support. And then if there are things that we can do, or us as individuals, I know that Lisa Beeden is heavily involved in Heron Medical Center and their outreach and putting out that information. But I just want to tell you that I'm really thankful for everything that you're doing, and I'm thankful for this resolution being pretty clear about voluntary compliance, because for some it's very personal. It's a very hard choice to make whether to be vaccinated or not, and I don't want to lose that in the conversation either.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Mercantile.
Thank you.
Moving on to conceptual initiatives,
None this evening.
and seeing no old business, moving on to new business. There's resolution 12-07, encouraging voluntary compliance with COVID-19 mitigation strategies. It was included in your packet.
I'd make the motion.
Support. All in favor to vote
Just got a
discussion?
comment, if I could.
Yes.
I definitely support this as being voluntary. If it was mandatory, I wouldn't at this point in time. But I just want to stress, like Georgia did, this is voluntary, and I think it's just good common sense the way the resolution is drafted.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to community health needs assessment contract approval.
I'd move this be sent to the full board.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There's no other human services matters tonight. No information only. So I'll entertain a motion to receive.
Make a motion to receive and file.
Thank you.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Just hit it one more time. That's sort of, we'll call the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Present.
Commissioner Beeden,
Here.
Commissioner Bohm,
Here.
Commissioner Dunn,
Here.
Commissioner Rushing,
Here.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch,
Here.
Commissioner McConnell.
Here, thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda is presented.
So moved. Support.
We have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any citizens to be heard?
None this evening.
None, thank you. Any updates? Any conceptual initiatives?
None.
Thank you. We have no old business. Tonight, under new business, we have the fiscal year 2021 Marine Safety Program Grant Agreement. This is a grant in the amount of $182,366. There's $96,000 in some change that is federal money, which has a zero match, and there's an $85,000 plus or minus with from the state, which has a 25% match, and that money's already been provided for.
Full board.
Support.
We have motion and support. Does anybody have any questions? Wayne's here if you have anything. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have the 2021 Port Security Grant Program application. This is for final action. This is a $56,197 grant, and it's got a 25% match, which is going to be covered from the dive team, the dive team auxiliary. Does anybody have any questions on this? Wayne, would you like to maybe tell us what we're doing with this, if you could?
Sure.
I don't want you to have to come all the way here and not get up and smile in front of us. Look at there.
We are applying for the grant for a new side scan sonar unit. This would be a high definition unit where we could identify smaller targets on the bottom as we're searching the river. Used in our day-to-day search and rescue operations, but also in Homeland Security, looking for underwater IEDs or threats to the pipelines and water intakes. The matching monies coming from our nonprofit, the Dive Team Auxiliary, has been supporting this on many of these grants. It's a competitive grant. I think there's $100 million nationwide up for grabs. Questions?
Anybody have any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Yep.
Also, as part of this, I think it's a two-stage, and we have I think Justin's on the phone. We don't have Justin?
He was having really bad feedback.
What's
earlier.
that?
He had really bad feedback.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. So we have applied for the port security grant as well. And as Wayne said, it is competitive. All of Sinclair County's projects will go under one grant request. That's how the port security grant works. And we're requesting the final piece of our antenna array for our radar system. That's the program we're looking to complete. It has completed 2 rounds already, and there's 1 final round left. And that's the project we're looking to fulfill with this.
Justin, when we say that the 25% match for this is going to be from in-kind work provided by the supplier?
Yes. So I can speak to that. So basically what happens is the way the accipiter radar system works is we own all the physical equipment and they own the data. And so it's a sharing process. we'll have unlimited access to the data for as long as we use the system. And it has been very useful in search and rescue cases, as well as other Homeland Security crossing situations and things like that. So it has many uses, and we've been able to obviously upgrade twice with that. And not only will the provider provide some of the match, but there's also part of the match for a couple of our staff to be utilizing the system, in our operations. So that's allowed as well.
Okay. Perfect. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, if not, we would need a motion to send to the full board.
So moved.
This
We
one's
have
for
motion
final
and-
action.
Pardon?
Final action.
This
For
one's
final-
final
yeah,
action.
For final action.
So moved.
We still don't need roll call, do we?
Not in the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you all.
Item 7C, the contract approval request for St. Clair County Community Mental Health Authority for inmate mental health coverage. We're going to see a couple items here that are going to be kind of contiguous with each other. So the first one, we're looking for a $140,000 contract for mental health to provide services to our inmates.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
So we have motion and support. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item, 7D, is a contract amendment from Horizon Health, who was providing or was attempting to provide the mental health, and it wasn't being done. So we're removing the $140,000 that we're going to give to the mental health department and the St. Clair County Mental Health from Horizon, and they're going to be paying back $42,281 as a credit for staff payback for work that's been done. So if we could send this to the full board with a motion.
So moved.
Support?
We have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We have the sheriff's contract for police services with Port Huron Area School District. This is no different than all the other ones we do. The Port Huron schools pay for the use of having a person there.
So moved.
We have motion and support. Send full board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Michigan Indigent Defense Commission fiscal year 2020 proposed cost analysis budget. Yeah, this is for next year, a grant request, so we need to send this to the full board if we could.
So moved.
Support?
Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Homeland Security Advisory Council membership. This is just the reappointment that we need to get approved.
Make a motion, send it full board.
Second.
We have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other judiciary public safety matters at this time? Seeing none, motion to receive and file packets.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you.
You didn't hit it?
Good evening. I'd like to call the Environmental Public Works Committee to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner McConnell,
Here.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Here.
Commissioner Beeden,
Present?
Commissioner Bohm,
Here.
Commissioner Rushing,
Here.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch,
Here.
Commissioner Dunn.
Here. Item number 2, additions, deletions, changes to the agenda.
Make a
Seeing,
motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support?
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Citizens to be heard, Chris?
There are none.
None tonight. Any updates from commissioners?
Just a quick one. We're going to be talking about this a little later, but myself, Commissioner Vanden Bosch, Commissioner Rushing went out to meet with Matt yesterday? Tuesday. So we went out and Dave hadn't been out there before, so Matt got an opportunity to show us around, and then he showed us one of the things that they're looking to propose in the agenda. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, you're going to be looking for a final action on that And that's for the landfill septic clarifier pilot proposal. Okay. We got a chance to get out there and he was able to explain it to us, and he's gonna get an opportunity to explain it this evening.
Thank you. Any other comments? Conceptual initiatives?
None.
None tonight. Seeing no old business, moving on to new business. Item A, and Kathy is here. There's 6 items from the airport. If anybody's got any questions, she is prepared to answer. Item A is Mead and Hunt, construction administration for the taxway, B, lighting reconstructions, amount of $83,130.
I'd make a motion to send it full board.
Support.
Any questions on the motion or the item? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item B is a contract award for reconstruction of taxway B. This will be for final action. It is in the amount of $552,872.50. There were 3 bidders. Any range from the $552 to $615. J Rank Incorporated was the low bidder.
Can we not, can the first one not go to final action when we're approving the second one? Aren't they kind of together?
That's my question.
I don't know that.
This project is a little bit unique compared to the projects that we've had in the past, because MDOT Office of Aeronautics, the reason that I haven't brought you the actual sponsor contract tonight, which is usually first, as you know, is that MDOT Office of Aeronautics has applied for this project to be 100% federally funded. And Jeff, you know that usually we have to, so that's still under review. And at this point, they're reviewing whether or not we are eligible to have it 100% federally funded, which would be great, because then we don't have that money. So that's, yes, 90, yes, 95, 2.5 and 2.5.
Yeah, just for commissioners that aren't aware. So years ago, it used to be 95% federally. It was 2.5% state, 2.5% local. They changed that funding mechanism, I guess, to 90%. Federal, 5% state, 5% local, however many years ago. So a lot of these things that you see when come before our airport, 90% of those monies are coming from the feds, 5% is coming from the state and our local match. So we don't have, tremendous amounts of money that we have to put out there for this.
So basically, we're lucky enough that we are in the running for 100% federally funded for this project. So that's, and we should know within the next, probably by May, I'll be able, or June, I'll be able to bring you the sponsor contract, and then we'll know for sure. The reason that they're asking for final action is because apparently with all this COVID mess, there is a delay on hiring or on ordering all electrical stuff. I guess it's just months on end before they can actually get all that navigational aid and lights that they need. So the sooner this is signed, gets back to MDOT, then they can begin to order their parts. Because at this point, they're saying probably 2 to 3 months for electrical, just the equipment that they need for it. So that takes us into a late fall start project. So probably September or so. But that's the reason that they wanted this signed right away, so that.
So to answer Commissioner McConnell, we don't need that first one for.
Well, no, we got plenty of time. But they're going to do the construction analysis, and we're awarding the bid, but not them to manage it. So that makes sense.
Any other questions? Chris, we need a roll call?
We need a motion.
Oh, I thought we had one, sorry.
Motion by Greg.
Vanden Bosch? McConnell? All in favor? Any questions, I guess, first?
Roll call.
Roll call. Roll call.
Commissioner McConnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden?
Yes.
Commissioner Bohm?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch? Yes. Commissioner Dunn?
Yes. Item C is a private hangar ground lease assignment amendment and consent of owner from Spartan Aviation.
Make the motion.
Support.
Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item D, private hangar ground lease amended and restated Eagle Services / Spartan Aviation.
Motion send full board.
Support.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, a private hangar ground lease agreement.
Make motion to send it to full board.
Support.
Any questions? I did ask Kathy about these. We've only got two pieces of, two parcels left that we can build on now, so these will be the last two. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? A private hangar ground lease with Mr. Will.
Motion to send to full board.
Support.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Kathy. Item G, landfill septic clarifier pilot proposal. Matt, did you want to?
You give us a little,
Yeah.
tell them what you're proposing.
Good evening, Commissioners. There's a memo that I've submitted to the committee tonight that kind of explains what's going on. We've been operating the bioreactor since 2008, and we've been using flexible bladder tanks at the top of the hill to do suspended solid removal. It's worked, and there hasn't been a better option out there. We've looked at that periodically over the years. These tanks only last about 5 years on average, but when they have to be replaced due to sitting out in the sun, basically, and degradation of the material. So every time time comes on to replace the tanks, we say, is there a better mousetrap that will work for us? And it really hasn't been. We've evaluated other options, but what we've been doing has been most cost effective. So now there is a potential better option out there. It is, as I described and included a couple pictures, essentially what's called a Hvac tank, which is a portable storage tank for liquids that goes on the back of the semi-tractor, and you can take it wherever you want to. And they've modified the guts of this to act as a clarifier. And a clarifier is simply a piece of equipment that helps manually remove those solids out of wastewater. So what I am proposing is that we do a 2-month pilot test of this new product and see what the efficiency is, see what the costs may be, near as we can tell, to clean the thing. How often do we have to clean the thing? Is it more effective getting solids out than what we're doing right now? And just see if it's going to be worth looking at as potentially a permanent addition to our septic processing and sludge management. So that's where I'm at. Near as we can find, this is the only company who has this particular piece of equipment. It is new, and they've given us a quote for a monthly rental of $14,000, and we feel that 2 months would be more prudent to give it a good run through. We don't know that that's going to be quite enough time, so I've asked for an additional month, which is the $4,300. So I think the total request tonight for your final action is $18,679 plus a 10% contingency, but I don't think that's something we're going to have to worry about using.
Any questions for Matt? I did talk to him about this today a little bit. If we do move forward and want to purchase it, he said it's right around $100,000.
Yeah, near as I can remember.
Keep in mind in the future. Do I have a motion for final action?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Matt, I got one more question for you before you step down.
Sure.
After the roll call.
Commissioner McConnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Beeden,
Yes.
Commissioner Bohm,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Thank you,
Motion
Commissioner.
passed. I was told Monday when I showed up at the landfill that a young lady retired last week after near 50 years of service at the county.
Yes, Pat Mutox, who started employment with the county, I think 1970. And I know a lot of folks who've been around for a little while know Pat. She worked in the administration office for a long time and then moved out to the landfill before I showed up, so maybe almost 20 years ago. Pat formally retired from the county as a full-time employee about 10 years ago. And she's been continuing work under a part-time retired basis until just a few days ago. So Pat, we're going to miss her. She's been great. But I think she's ready to move on. 50 years is a long time.
Well, thanks, Pat, for your years of service. That's amazing.
Yep.
Thanks, Matt.
You bet.
Item H, the Goodall's Tri-Deck mower purchase for $18,809.28. We did have 3 bidders. If I could get a motion to move this to the full board?
So moved.
Support.
Any questions on the motion or the item? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Goodall's Community Center restroom HVAC replacement. We did have 3 bidders, low bid of $7,982. There was 4 bidders, I'm sorry, to Vincent Heating and Cooling. I'd like a motion to send this to the full board.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item J, Fort Gratiot Sewer Lift Station, $11,410 to Kennedy Industries. They were the only bidder due to equipment that's used in that pump station, and it was required that they replace it with their equipment. So I need a motion, please.
Motion.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8, Smiths Creek Landfill's Activity Report.
Make a motion to receive and file.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Other environmental public work matters? Seeing none, moving on. Information only. Monthly Parks and Rec financial documents.
Motion.
Support.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Dunn, I'm sorry, I should have asked under other.
Too late.
Public work. Please, say please.
I'm just
Go
saying.
ahead, you get a
He's the
pass.
chair. He actually gets.
You get a
to decide.
pass. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Have we settled the alternates, parks alternates? I know that we were talking about it back and forth, but is that still kind of hanging out there, or do we need to?
So our park director is here today. Maybe she would like to get up and tell us.
Nancy's pretty new.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we.
But she's shaking her head no back there, so I thought she might have an answer, so.
Put it this way, it came up with the last board, if we want to take a look at it with this particular board, so be it. I would probably give Nancy an opportunity to get her feet wet for a little bit and then just kind of what
So
her input may be.
that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up. If we're starting, because I noticed today that I got the parks draft agenda from you.
Yes.
So, so I'm wondering if it's, something that because it's something on our end that we'd like to put to bed, but it should probably be under your direction.
Yes, so we're gonna look at that. We haven't quite dove into that yet, but it is on my radar to look at the alternates and how we want to handle that, because I know talked to Carrie a little bit about that as well. So it is on my radar, but we just haven't gotten there yet. So we're also looking to appoint one more in District 3, right? So we have a couple things to deal with on that.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Makes sense. Any other questions? Okay, receive and file.
So moved.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye. This time I'd like to call the Ways and Means Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner McConnell,
Yes, here.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Present.
Commissioner Beeden,
Here.
Commissioner Bohm,
Here.
Commissioner Dunn,
Here.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch,
Here.
Commissioner Rushing.
Here. Okay, you see we have an addition on the agenda tonight, and this is for manning table change, and I talked with Tiffany, and I would like that to be for final action. So if somebody would make a motion to add that as 7E.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Do we have any citizens wishing to be heard?
Do that.
We have none. We have no updates. Any?
You know what, I got some stuff to share with some.
Oh, okay.
commissioners here, so.
I thought you'd cover that on the other end.
So I had dinner the other night with the two head guys on the Magna plant going in St. Clair. Everything's going really well. They're very happy. I asked them about staffing, and they said actually they had quite a few people that were transferring in because that is like the new latest and greatest state of the art. They're going to have 400 robots in that plant, phase one, so it's really technical. Said a lot of people actually that just worked in the city, tired of living in the city, kind of like it out here, so they're relocating. And these are pretty darn good jobs too. It's pretty technical stuff. They're bringing people that were based out of Mexico, Canada, so like out of I think 110 they needed to fill. They had 65 or 70, and they actually are really happy with the people. So it's nice to hear because you always wondered how you're going to stack up with that sometimes. And I think that almost reaffirms somewhat of the quality of life. You know, if you can get a good job out in this area, it's a great place to live, you know, so on and so forth. So it was refreshing. 26 Mile Road, we're doing the rubber chicken circuit. Ira been to China, East China, talking about what we want to do over there. And part of that, we had a meeting the other day, myself, Dan Casey, Dave Struck, Kurt Weston, Bill Hazelton, and the planner, Steve Casson, who is the planner for China, Casco, and Ira, who is the former Macomb County Economic Development Director and planner. I've kind of tasked those guys with putting a draft form together that will be coming for us, that is going to be looking for requests for proposals to really look at everything along that corridor, the water, the sewers, the power, you know, I mean, if we're looking to make that investment, we obviously have to know what we're getting into or trying to move forward. Consistency in zoning. Dave Struck did a really nice job putting the draft together, and they're going to be, you know, it's going to come, I'd imagine, sometime next month, and, you know, requests for proposals, that type of stuff, see what we come up with. We had a meeting the other day to talk about, so Carrie, myself, Dina, Gary Fletcher, Dave Struck, Jeff Donaldson. We have some HUD funds that are available to be used on some particular specific projects to assist. Basically, it's a low-interest loan for a period of time. Not sure if it's 24 or 36 months, but that was an eligible project. We have roughly $415,000. We were looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000. That would be paid back. There would be security for the county. It's nothing, you know, we're not going to put ourselves in a position that we can lose out on the money. It's kind of dead money. It's been sitting there for a long time. I'm a big advocate of, you know, to me, it's more important about perhaps, you know, telling the story of the participation, helping, and it actually revolves around the schools in St. Clair. I'm really the St. Clair thing, a lot of interest in the reusership, but I'd like to hopefully prompt maybe some of the other schools. I mean, we have 7 of these things sitting out in our community now, 7 eyesores, right? So if there's some things we can do to entice, I know K-PAC has actually finally got off the dime, and they're going to be selling.
Today?
Oh, was it today?
Bids were due yesterday, Gary.
Okay, but they've been sitting on that thing forever out there,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, you got these schools, these community schools, and just Fairhaven Elementary, they won't change the zoning. It looks like it just is in shambles, man, like crazy. I couldn't believe it how, I wouldn't want to live by or around that thing, you know? So we will have that, will be coming back before us, and then Nancy, she was here, she took off. She helped finalize on the Marina grant, Marine City, Laura Scotcha, Nancy, a couple others. They were actually putting a grant request to go into the community foundation. Roughly that whole cost between acquisition, some demos, some other stuff's $135,000. I'm sure we will look at, possibly helping to participate in some capacity when the time comes on that great project for the city. There's actually another interested owner in another piece of property down there. So it gets pretty good traction down there in Marine City with the interest on the whole little marina thing. So those are just some updates that I wanted to give you guys if anybody had any questions.
Everybody got this, Jeff? Did you want to cover any one of these?
Well, that blue meets green, it's got the list.
We can do it some other time.
Nah, it's got just, if you get your blue meets green stuff, I sent it to you. It's got a list of all the things that actually scored out. And Marine City Marina actually scored out #1 on the.
Yeah, the Phase 4 regional priorities.
Yeah, yeah, which is collectively that larger group that scores those things out. And, so all good stuff.
Any other updates? Okay, we had no conceptual initiatives. We have no old business. Moving on to new business. 7A, Health Department manning table change.
I'd move to go to the full board.
Have a second?
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. 2021 budget adjustments.
I'll make a motion to move to full board.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Sinclair County policies.
Make a motion to send this to the full board
Second.
and appreciate all the work that's going into these because they're taking, 200 policies and trying to individually review and adopt so that it's easier moving forward.
It is a very large document we're converting.
So thank you for that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Manning table reclassification, equalization, appraisal 3 to senior advisor.
Make a motion to send it to the full board.
Sorry.
Any discussion?
I would just like to say, I talked to Justin the other day about something. I think it was City of St. Clair called and for clarification. I mean, we're pretty fortunate. We've got some really knowledgeable people that work down there. So a lot of times, some of the smaller municipalities, it might be out of their skill set, I guess, and if call it what you may and stuff. So I've had to do that multiple times with them. Nice to pick up the phone and get the right answer. So
We take a vote on this?
We did not.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Now, 7E for final action, the technology manning table change. Tiffany, if you would, please. This is going to be $9,743. It's pretty minimal. And talking with her, this has been in the works since October in our tech department.
So the request that's before you tonight is actually something I've been working on since October. My assistant director retired at the end of January. And so in October, especially in the year of COVID, things were quite challenging for the IT department with everyone working from home and all those things. So I wanted to take the opportunity to really evaluate how we were doing things and where our gaps were. So I actually met with each member of my staff because I had my own ideas, but I also wanted to hear from those that were in the trenches dealing with the day-to-day on where they saw the gaps. And out of that meeting, I sort of came up with a new plan of how I wanted to organize the department. So part of that was a manning table change that came to you back in November, December, where I hired a help desk technician. He's here tonight, not to put him on the spot, but he's with us tonight and he's doing a great job. That was step one of my change. Step two is to change the assistant director position to 2 network coordinators. Essentially, they're going to function as team leads, mentor my team, work with them on the day-to-day. And generously, the 2 people that are doing that agreed to do it on a trial basis. We didn't know if this was going to work for us, and we didn't want to formalize it till we knew it was really going to work the way we hoped. So they agreed to do it on a trial basis. They've been functioning in the position since December. It's been working out great. I've had good feedback from the team as well as them. So I'm just asking for the change to be formalized tonight. And with final action, I'll be able to fill my 1 vacancy and hopefully get back to full staffing.
Anybody have any other questions?
No.
Do we need a roll call?
No.
Okay. Do we have a motion yet?
Do not.
Okay,
Oh.
yep.
So move for final action?
Second.
Word?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. At this time, do we have any other Ways and Means Matters? Seeing none, no information, can I have a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Before we,
Just whistle?
yes, I did. Traveling road show, June, July, August,
Yes.
September.
You, or Georgia. Georgia.
I even sent out a formal
I'm gonna do
invite.
July.
I
We'll
said,
send out the things.
I said I would do August.
Said you would do August, we'll find something for September. Maybe we'll go down to the band and walk farm in September. It's nice down there.
Sure.
All right,
I'm fine.
we'll talk more.
All right.
Cool.
Okay, I believe we got a motion and a second to receive and file. All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passed. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.
Who has the radio tomorrow? Phone, you?
Yes.
Did you already do it?